morning, everybody. Okay, so let's make sure those first 10 seconds. Oh, the 10 seconds are up. Good morning, everybody. Let's see. Let's take a look at today. Today it is rain season day. Let's see. Show you guys the rain season day. Look at that. Irvine, California. Let's see. Check out those wipers. Check out those wipers on there. And check out those wipers. No, I'm not going anywhere. It's wrong buttons. There. Those are the buttons. Look at that beautiful Irvine morning there. Not sure that we'll see many people walking today. But there we go. Video killed the radio star. Whoa. This thing is falling off. Don't fall off. Okay, so we're here with the usual things that we've got. We've got this book here that we all hate, except for the algorithm. The algorithm is not going to appreciate beautiful Smithsonian Tech Lab technology. And then we've got our other usual book. During the weekend, it's hard to get out there to do these videos, so instead I made a couple of other videos. I did one with Real Flight. Got a bunch more things to do with Real Flight. Unfortunately, I'm getting to the point with Real Flight where it's hard to get there than where I've gotten to. It's like, at some point there's a wall, there's a point where your skills sort of top off. So I'm getting to that point where my skills plateau. There it is, plateau. So it's hard to get any further than that. Did you guys get to see the Nutcracker? They had the Nutcracker in different places. The Nutcracker is being performed in all kinds of different places, and it is jaw-dropping. So I got to watch that this week. Is pretty cool. Believe it or not, there are two very brave people out there walking their dogs on a wet day in Irvine, California, Woodbridge. And as your local Google guide here from Irvine, California, Woodbridge, that seems rather strange, but brave, very brave. Just checking out to see if, I don't know, things are running the way they should on the cameras and stuff. Well, they did find themselves a nice spot underneath the tree to survive the wetly weather that we have today. Very brave individuals indeed, with very cute dogs with them. Very well behaved, as you would expect from Irvine puppies. Anyway, so we'll get into reading that really quick. It's a little bit of a strange episode today. Today I've got my Rubik's Cube here. It's not really mine. I borrowed a Rubik's Cube, and I was thinking maybe to try to unfold the mysteries, to try to unravel the mysteries of the Rubik's Cube today. Just to make it easier for myself, I've got my trusty list of squiggles and hieroglyphics here, and these usually are what you need in order to unravel the mysteries of the Rubik's Cube. Let me see. Here's the rest of the instructions on how to unravel the mysteries of the Rubik's Cube. I hope I didn't write anything unkid-friendly there by accident. Let's take another look at the other side. There we go. It's early mornings. My brain is not fully awake yet, but could I do the Rubik's Cube? I don't know. Maybe we'll just go through all the good stuff, and we'll do the Rubik's Cube at the end, just in case I fail. I don't know. It's as I like to tell you guys, I've beaten this thing many times before, which is why this is not a new Rubik's Cube. It's been beaten up a little bit, and if you go like this, I think it's like this. If you go like this, you should be able to gently, well, not gently, because this is not one of those speed cubes. It's one of those other kind of cubes. You can actually remove some of these bits here. But on this particular style Rubik's Cube here from Rubix.com, it is very, very difficult to remove one of these. And I used a metal tool, which is not really a good idea, because if you do it wrong, if you're not delicate enough, you will actually snap and break the plastic bits. So, again, I was able to do that, but I cannot really recommend it. You should probably buy yourself a speed cube if you plan to remove these bits here. But anyway, that's not how I solved it. I only did that one time where I removed the bits and pieces of it. So anyway, we'll do that later. Not sure if all the roads will lead back to our favorite Twitter guy, but they might. I don't know. I didn't follow along to anything new that's going on. I may have to wait for a certain someone to do a cool video, and then it might be about Twitter this time. I don't know. It might not be. Maybe we're past the whole Twitter thing. Maybe we'll get an episode on Elon Musk's flying cars and Dubai and Asia. We'll get an episode on that. I don't know. The weather is a little bit. It's dragging me down a little bit. It's hard to be energetic when it's so, well, cold for my standards, and then gloomy and wet and humid. The worst combination is cold and humid. Boy, does that do some stuff for your skeleton. So that's why I had the heating on for a little bit in the car. I turned it off. It's probably not a good idea. It's probably better for the audio overall, but I might have to turn it back on if it gets too cold and wild and humid and my oldly bones start feeling it. Oh. Yeah, whenever you have an injury, if it's cold and humid at the same time, that's when you're gonna feel it the worst. Even if it's just because you've been cracking your knuckles too much, which you shouldn't do anyway. It's a bad idea. All right, so we're gonna jump into electric circuits, and that's why there was somebody watching, and then they disappeared. So I started talking about electric circuits. It's a dangerous topic. Anyway. All of the projects in this book involve building electric circuits. In each case, electric current flows around a circuit, providing energy to make something happen, such as lighting a lamp or making sound in a loudspeaker. Current can only flow if there is a complete circuit, a path along which the electrons can move. So very important to notice is electrons. Electrons, they move, and they move. The second you short a circuit, the second you disconnect a circuit, there is no electrons running through the system, and then it will stop running. And so if there's a light bulb on, you break that circuit, and the light bulb turns off. So it talks about electrons move from the battery's negative terminal through the circuit to the positive terminal. In any circuit, many trillions of electrons are moving at once in a steady stream. Electric currents. An electric current is any movement of electric charge. In electric circuits, the things that move are particles called electrons, which carry negative electric charge. Electrons can move easily through certain materials called conductors. The wires of an electric circuit are made of metal, normally copper, and metals are good conductors. The switch is closed so electrons can flow through the circuit. Once you open it, then it will not flow. And I'm going to show you the image in a second so you guys can see. Inside the metal wire, electrons are free from the atoms and can move around freely. It's so boring, I'm about to fall asleep. That's why nobody ever does technology videos like these, because people fall asleep. Going back to when I used to be in school, and I had a really interesting and nice chemistry teacher, but when he started talking about electrons and equations, that's when my eyes started to do this, and I could not keep them open. And then I had to try and balance those equations. Oh boy, oh boy. Direction of conventional flow. Which direction? Scientists began investigating electricity long before they knew about electrons. They thought currents flowed from the positive end of a battery to the negative end, but in reality, it is the other way around. The old way, called conventional current, is still used in most diagrams, but when we show electric current in the book, we will show the direction of electric flow. So here is the image for the electric flow right there. There we go. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to turn that engine back on for a few minutes to bring forth the power of heating. So I'm dying here. Don't want to get into that frostbite. Wouldn't want to lose any extremities, fingers and toes. Now it's probably not cold enough for me to lose my extremities, but as a lizard person, you never know what's going to happen, right? So trying to stay safe. Voltage, current, and resistance. In order to understand electric circuits, you will need to know about voltage, current, and resistance. To help you understand what these mean, it helps to imagine an electric circuit as a loop of pipes with water pushing through them by a pump. I guess it's too powerful. It makes too much noise. Put it down a little bit. You will need to know about voltage, current, and resistance, as I said before, to help you understand what these mean. It helps to imagine an electric circuit as a loop of pipes with water pushing through them by a pump. In this analogy, the pump is a battery, the pipes are the wires, and the water represents the electrons. Battery pushes electrons around voltage, flow of electrons. Resistor restricts the flow of electrons, resistance. So I'm going to show you a picture for that real quick, which is right here. Look at that. You've always wanted to know about it. I can see it in your eyes. All right, anyway, so voltage, to produce a current in an electric circuit, there has to be a force on the electrons. The force, called an electromotive force, EMF, can be supplied in many ways, for example, by a battery. The greater the EMF, the more energy the electrons have, and voltage in units called volts with a V sign, with a V shape, is a measure of energy of each electron. Oh, I got distracted again. In the water analogy, voltage is the pressure a pump produces. So there are some poor kids who have to go to school, and so you got to go to school, just like my daughter this morning. You got to go in the rain. So pump pushes water around voltage. Narrow pipe restricts the flow of the water. Resistance, water flow, current. I'm going to show you all this stuff here in a second. They did a nice, beautiful picture here. It shows you all the stuff that you need to know of how the water, or the electrons in this case, are pushed through a system by a pump. Anyway, resistance. Electrons move easily through metal wires, as the wires put up very little resistance to their movement. But most electrical components have some resistance, and the total resistance of a circuit determines the flow of electrons. The current. Resistance is measured in units called ohms. We talked about ohms in previous episodes. Resistors are components that have particular resistances. They control current in a circuit. In the water analogy, resistance is the width of the pipes. So we talked about resistors as well in a previous video. So we're going to show you some of the fun things here in this picture. Whoa. You had the volts, the R's and the I's of the world. I guess the amps and the ohms. Ohm's law. We're going to talk about Ohm's law. A rule called Ohm's law, shown as a mathematical equation, summarizes the relationship between the voltage, resistance, and current in a circuit. The equation states that voltage is current multiplied by resistance. Current is voltage divided by resistance, and resistance is voltage divided by current. If you know two of the values, you can work out the third using the Ohm's law. Ohm's law is useful when designing circuits, as you can use it to quickly find out what the components you need to build working a circuit. So I'm going to show you this picture again. I think it has some of what you need to understand Ohm's law. Ohm's law brings us back to our favorite yoga stuff. Ohms. Anyway, series and parallel circuits. We're going to go through that in a second. Wow, this book is very detailed. You guys are going to learn something today that I will forget tomorrow. So without the book, I won't be able to do any of this stuff. But you guys will, because you will have learned something today. Series and parallel circuits. In some circuits, the wires and components are connected one after another in series. In other circuits, there are branches in the circuit, in which case the wires and components are in parallel. Most circuits have at least some components connected in parallel. So let's see what these are all about. In a second, I'm going to show you pictures. Electrons flow from the battery negative terminal through the switch and the bulbs, and back into the battery's positive terminal. The more light bulbs connected in the circuit, the dimmer they will be. The switch and the two light bulbs are connected in series. So it's one of the issues you run into if you are using very, very long wires and circuits. At some point, there's going to be less or dimmer power reaching the final objects that you're trying to get to. But most importantly, if you have multiple of these bulbs in series, it's going to be dimmer light throughout the circuitry. So if you have one bulb on its own, it's going to be very bright. If you put two in series, they're going to be a little bit less bright. Three, and so on and so forth, it's going to get less and less bright based on that. So I'm going to show you the picture here so you guys can go wild over pictures, as pictures tell 1,000 words. They have AC and DC, and that's not a band, or it used to be a band. Anyway, it's not band, but it used to be a band with good music, AC/DC. In some circuits, the electrons move in one direction only. This is called direct current, DC, direct current. So top illustration above shows the DC. In others, they move backwards and forwards. In that case, it is called alternative current or alternating current, AC, bottom illustration above. So I'm going to show you the illustration. It shows you one is AC and one is DC. Oh, MGC. There. Okay, so series circuits. In a series circuit, there is only one path through which the current can flow. All the electrons pass along the same route or routes, depending on where you live. The current in a series circuit is the same throughout the circuit. It is determined by total resistance of all the components, and the resistance is futile, so understand that it's only going to go one way around. If you try to resist it, nothing happens. The energy of the electrons is shared between all the components. You won't find any salmon trying to go against the current, because that's just not how it works. Parallel circuits, I mean. In a parallel circuit, electric current can flow through different paths because the circuit branches. Okay. Some electrons will go one way and others another. The circuit in each branch depends on the total resistance of the components in the branch, and each branch receives all the energy of the electrons that come that way. So in this case, it's going to be different, because the path in this circuit is a little bit different, as you can see, compared to that one. In this case, there is a bifurcation in which the electricity goes through on this way, through there, to the light bulb, and it also goes like that, through there to the light bulb, as you can see. So the light bulb is still getting a positive and negative charge. However, the electricity is going through this way. it goes and it decides to go left, or it decides to go right, and it goes and it goes either left or right. Not pointing correctly to the directions, please keep that in mind. I'm just showing you different pathways in which the electricity is flowing. So it says 2 AA batteries or AA batteries provide 3 volts to the circuits. The current splits where the circuit branches, with some electrons passing through each bulb. Each bulb receives the full 3 volts. The current in the main part of the circuit is the sum of the current in the 2 branches. So that gets pretty complicated already as it is. But as you can see here, there's different ways to power your bulbs. And I guess maybe in this way, I don't know if it's better than the other way. We could ask a PhD if the bulbs will be less dim in this case because they're not going through the same path, but they're getting electricity in different ways. What is better? Are they going to be dimmer or the same amount of dimness as they were in the previous? So you see, in this one or in this one, will the lights be brighter in this scenario or in this scenario? That's something you could ask a PhD. They might know. So circuit diagrams, maybe you know and you're a PhD and you want to drop a comment to help the others understand the questions that I can't answer for you guys. That's always a helpful thing. Anyway, circuit diagrams. When electronics engineers are building circuits, they don't draw the battery wires and components as they are in real life instead. Instead, they use diagrams that show clearly how the various parts of the circuits are connected. So that there is no confusion, there are standard symbols for each kind of component, and wires are shown as straight, even if in the actual circuit the wires bend. Excuse me. Do not be alarmed, it's not COVID, although COVID is going around. Just choked on my spit. We have included circuit diagrams for every project in page 152 and 155. So if we go to those pages 152 and 155 in this book, we will find that there are included circuit diagrams for every project, which is useful if you guys are trying to build your own projects using this guide. 9-volt battery, light bulb. LED resistor. The parallel circuit has 3 branches. Fan driven by a motor. Looks pretty cool. They show you a bunch of diagrams, which I'm going to show you in a second. Circuit diagram for the circuit to the left. And then it's going to talk about what is ground. Ground or earth is the point of a circuit with the lowest voltage, and it is often, but not always, 0 volts. In the circuits in a home, it is a metal spike in the ground, but in the battery circuits, it is normally the negative terminal of the battery. Okay, that was interesting. Let's take a look at the diagram or the pictures here. Go through this picture first so you guys can take a look at that and what that's all about. This over here tells you about ground. If you guys want to read that in your own time, that should be pretty easy to look at. And then there's all these squiggles and hieroglyphics there you guys can take a look at. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, it's feeling a little better in the car now. It's warmed up. It's warmed up. I feel happy. All right, breadboards. Breadboards, as I said before, are not to be eaten or toasted. They're very complex things that help you build your projects and keep them all powered as you wish. Anyway, breadboards. A breadboard is a plastic board with a springy metal tracks inside that make it easy to connect the wires and components in a circuit. Instead of needing to solder components and wires together, they can simply be pushed into the board. This makes it easy to remove components if you have put them in the wrong place, and also means you can reuse components and the breadboard again and again. This saves you a lot of time before you decide to solder things together. You can do all of your testing on a breadboard And once you're done, then you're like, okay, well, I want to make it permanent. You can either buy a separate soldering breadboard and solder bits into that, or you can just connect wires and solder them properly with all the other things, shrink wraps and the works, and then make it permanent so that it's something that you can sell. Excuse me, I don't think that there are many companies that will sell you things that rely on breadboards unless they are kits for you to learn how to do things. I don't see DJI making any products with breadboards set up so that if you wanted to modify something in there, you could just pop the hood and there's a nice breadboard in there for you to twiddle stuff and then destroy it. Anyway, luckily DJI does not do that, so that's a good thing for you guys. It'll last you longer. Let's see how a breadboard works. We talked about that. So under the surface of a breadboard are rows and columns of metal tracks. These connect to metal springs that hold components and wires in place. The two columns on each side are joined together and are useful for connecting the two terminals of a battery. The 5 holes in each row are connected. Therefore, any components or wires plugged into the same column on the side of the breadboard or the same row in the body of the breadboard are electrically connected. That sounds pretty cool. It sounds pretty cool, but is it as cool as they say? Let's take a look at the picture to find out. Look at that picture. Look at that body. Look at that body of the picture. It's cool. Some kind of interesting thing there. It probably explains how it works inside. There's like metal bits, and if you push a metal wire in there, it sort of like clamps together so that the wire does not move around too much when you're trying to do the projects. So it says the springy clips under the breadboard surface allow components and wires to be plugged in and hold them in place. That's what I was talking about. You push, eventually those clips will dull over time, so they won't clip as well, but that's what happens with all springs and systems. So they do last for a pretty long time, so they're pretty good, especially if you buy the original kits and are not made out of other materials that might not be as good. Anyway, positive battery wire, negative battery wire, we talk about all that stuff. It'll show you the plus and the minus sign in there. Anything plugged into this column will be connected to the battery's positive terminal. And then it says the LED positive leg is connected to the battery positive terminal. You want to do that in order to get this to work correctly. Not sure if you will short circuit anything. They do have a resistor and an LED on this breadboard. The two columns on either side of the breadboard are joined together along the length of the breadboard. This leg of the resistor is connected to the battery negative terminal. The 5 holes in each row are connected to the resistor's leg and is connected to the LED's negative leg by the breadboard. I'll show you guys this diagram one more time, or this picture one more time. This is where it shows you the clips where the wires go into and they clip together. And then in here, they'll show you there's one LED there and there's a resistor over there. And the big batteries over there, those are usually the 9-volt batteries. I don't use those at all in my projects. I usually use the AA and the AAAs. They're just more commonly used, easier to find at your local stores. But my friend Steve is big on the 9-volt batteries, so maybe they're better to use. I don't know. He is a professional, so maybe you might want to do what he does instead of what I do. They might actually last longer too. I don't know. So he has a bunch of those 9-volt batteries that are rechargeable because, again, when you use and you produce things in projects, you will run out when you do all the different testing after testing, you will run out of batteries. So just so you know, you might want to get some rechargeable batteries of those, or you will be spending a lot of time at Costco or wherever you can buy those things to get yourself new ones. Different breadboards. There are several different kinds of breadboards. The most common are full-size breadboards, which have the most commonly used are the full-size breadboards that have 64 rows. Okay. These are big enough for complex circuits, but mini breadboards are useful for smaller projects. Perforated, meaning with holes in them, boards are similar to breadboards, but they require soldering, so they are used for more permanent circuits. That's what I was talking about before. I hadn't read to this point, so I didn't know about this, but it's what I was talking about before. Full-size breadboards. Again, if you decide to solder in these breadboards, you will ruin them. You won't be able to reuse them again. That's why they have the other ones, the ones I just talked about. The perforated boards, as I said, are similar to breadboards, but they require soldering, so you can buy those to make things more permanent. Okay, so full-size breadboards. On a full-size breadboard, numbers and letters make it easy to follow circuit building instructions. There's only one C7 hole, for example. On full-size and mini breadboards, the gap along the middle is designed so that the integrated circuits, ICSs, can plug or be plugged in. For more on ICSs, see page 17. So we'll take a look at that later when we get there. Wait, page 17 was back, way back when. So, wait, what? It was talking about transistors on the page, speakers and headphones, earphones, magnets. Are we talking about the same page 17? Who knows? Who knows, guys? Who knows? Buy the book and find out. Buy the book and find out. Anyway, sets of 5 holes are connected together in the same way as in a full-size breadboard. Mini breadboards, these smaller versions, do not have columns to carry power from the battery, but otherwise they will work in the same way as full-size boards. Most have clips along the sides, so they can be attached to each other. Some have holes for screws or adhesives backs, which enable you to mount the mini breadboard onto things. So it means like stickers. More permanent kind of stickers that are very strong and sticky. Let me show you one of these things. Hey, look! They're a little bit like the things that I was 3D printing for you guys to create more complex vehicles and stuff. The idea was to create a fun Lego system so that you could create projects such as these and easily bond things onto them, expand them to make them bigger if you wanted bigger cars or robot systems, or smaller depending on what you wanted. So I went and I just designed things for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then my brain shriveled back down to it, you know, this size, because I had brain freezes and stuff. And then I presented the whole thing to my buddy Steve, and he goes, "That's crap, throw it out." Pumping in the heat. So what happened was I was pumping in the heat, and because the iPhone is placed close to where the heat is coming out of, it overheated. I crap you not, it overheated, and so that's why the live stream had a momentary fail. I think it probably glitched out. But all I could see on the screen was the thermometer thingy, the red thing saying, your iPhone must cool down before it can be used. So, yeah. I had no idea this could even happen, but it did. If you were to touch my body right now, it still feels cool. The inside of the vehicle is relatively warm. I've had to turn off the heating because, again, the iPhone crapped out. And yeah, wow, that's what happens to lizard people. We can survive the heat, really strong heats of the desert, not so well the cool, but the iPhone just the iPhone cannot survive the temperature that I was at inside the vehicle. And yeah, crapped out.
on a cold day such as today, inside the car, little did they know that the iPhone would crap out. Anyway, it never a dull moment, never a dull moment. So now I need to suffer the cold because I can't run the heating because the iPhone can't survive a little heat. The things you learn about technology on this channel. All right, legs of ICSs plug into the hole on either side of the gap. So there's like a gap in the middle of the breadboard that is shown there. It's almost like, I can't remember, was it Moses? It was somebody that opened up the water so that people could walk through it. Anyway, there's a similar thing going on this breadboard. Look at that. Somebody opened up the water so that the people could walk through. There. Each column in the middle of the breadboard is lettered. Each row is numbered, positive and negative powers. Columns are normally indicated with red and blue lines. The top face of the board has letters and numbers. Pretty cool. The underside has metal tracks that show how the rows and columns are connected. Perforated boards. The holes perforations in a perforated board are joined together in rows and columns just like the breadboard, but wires and components can simply be plugged in. They have be soldered in place. Okay, I'm going to show you these things here that they're talking about because what I just said sounded confusing even to me, and I said it. Oh, here. I keep talking about Jack Shaloner. That's him. He be famous. Well. Our chef is not allowing me to show you Jack Shaloner properly. It will not zoom. It will not zoom and focus on Jack Shaloner for some reason. Why? Why not? He has written more than 30 books on science and technology and has contributed to many more, including DK's Science and Timeless of Science. In addition to books, he acts as a science consultant on magazines, television programs. He worked on London Science Museum's flagship interactive gallery, Launchpad, and has also developed television programs for the BBC. Looks like a cool guy. But Tim Cook's device won't allow me to. Maybe just Google him. Anyway, the iPhone 13 just won't work properly, so I can't show you his picture properly. You can, however, do a Google search, Siri search, Amazon search. Oh gosh. Anyway, troubleshooting. Every project in this book includes an electric circuit. If you follow the instructions closely and are careful with each of the connections you make, your circuits should work in just the right way. But sometimes things can go wrong. If they do, these troubleshooting pages should help you find and fix the problem. As I like to tell guys and girls and everybody in between, anybody can break stuff. You can just grab something that you bought and stomp it on the ground or whatever. You can, learn iron palm, iron fist, whatever. You can do all those cool things. And if you put enough time, effort into them, and you don't do them really, really poorly, in which case you will just break bones, eventually, with enough hard work and perseverance, you can learn to break stuff. What's really difficult is patching things up, bringing things back to life, if you will. Like, Granddad is an old man. He brings things back to life, and that is the cool thing about his YouTube channel. He shows you how to take broken stuff and bring it back to life. Really cool stuff. Anyway, so that is what troubleshooting and fixing and building stuff is all about. And again, I think it's Top Tech Boy, Top Deck. Oh, I can't do this. Top Tech Boy. That's probably why it's easier to just call him Paul McQuarter. Paul McQuarter is easy to say. Paul McQuarter is easier to say. Anyway, for me it is. Anyway, he also has a really cool channel. Anyway, let's get back to this thing. I got lost. Squirrel. Where am I? Where am I? Be safe. Be safe, as it always tells you in the book, be safe. The projects in this book all have low voltage power supplies, batteries, or USB sockets. So there is almost no danger of you receiving an electric shock. However, there's always the off chance that that pesky, conniving son of a gun, Mark Reviews uses it, in which case I could get an electric shock. Or you could look at Electro Boom. Electro Boom will show you with his skill share, not skill share. God, I'm having another moment. So anyway, however, it is best to disconnect the power supply when you're investigating what is wrong with your circuits. Also, don't try to use the skills you learned here to investigate other electric circuits, as they can be dangerous. Don't try this at home, kids. It may be a problem with the batteries. Okay, usually it's a lot of different times when the problem is with the batteries. You guys saw me test out that amazing Aero Scout from Hobby Zone Horizon Hobby, and you found out that there was a problem with the batteries, which, by the way, have not received yet, but they probably may arrive today, because they tend to send things during business days. In business days, DHL Express parcel delivery, no, an end of, whoa, something about end of today. At some point today, there's a DHL package that should arrive. Just showed up on my screen, and I believe that is probably going to be the only Marco Reviews pesky, conniving son of a gunny replacement head. So we're working on that Ini doll. It should be coming in today, hopefully. And if it does, it'll replace me permanently on the channel, because everybody's tired of listening to my voice. And she'll be coming over. She'll be coming to town. She will definitely do the job while she's in town, as in the Christmas song might allude to. So anyway, it's an awesome talking robot head, and we will be training the Terminator to not hate us, so that we can survive the apocalypse of Skynet. Anyway, so now that I've completely gone off the rails, we can go back into technology here. So it's going to show you a couple of AA batteries connected up to a system, and it's going to tell you how to troubleshoot said things. So it may be a problem with the batteries. As I said before, the first thing to check is the power source. Make sure your batteries are connected to the right terminals, connected the right way, and that they have power. If there is heat or even smoke when you turn the circuit on, remove the batteries immediately. If the circuit is powered by USB, unplug the USB cable. If you see smoke, grab a fire extinguisher and blow the ever-loving crap out of it if you are not confident with your technology, or dump your technology into water bucket. No, that's a bad idea. Don't do that, because you could get electrocuted if anything goes wrong. That's what they used to do in the old days. In the olden days, they had buckets, but that's dangerous. So if your thing started smoking, you would just lift it and plunk it in the water and then run. Can't do that anymore. It's dangerous. Anyway, make sure the batteries are inserted correctly in a battery pack. The battery's flat end should be pressing against the springs. I'll show you the springs. It's not the kind of springs that you want to go to on vacation. It's the springs that you attach the battery leads there. Number 2, test the batteries are working with a multimeter. Set your multimeter to volts and hold the red metal prong against the positive battery terminal and the back metal prong against the negative battery terminal. In the reading, if the reading is 0 or close to 0, the battery is dead and will need to be replaced. It is normal for the meter to read a little lower than the battery, marked voltage on the battery. So I guess if it's a 2-volt battery, for some reason, it'll give you 1.4 volts on this thing. We'll have to check it. I have one of these infamous multimeters. So what you do is you plug it on and you what does it say here? If you have an analog multimeter, set it to the next voltage range above the battery voltage. So it put it to the 200. Does that mean 2 volts? I guess that probably means 2 volts. It is normal for the meter to read a little lower than the marked voltage, as it says here before. So here, you guys can read this to yourselves and make of the numbers and the math what you will, because I don't understand it at all. You know, like if I was going to make a multimeter and I was going to work with 2 volts, I wouldn't put 200 on there. I'd probably just put 2 volts. That's just me. I like things that are simple and simplified. But over here they put 200, so just live and learn. Live and learn. The circuit may be wired incorrectly. Okay, so let's see. What another thing that could be causing issues is the circuitry. And we talked about that also when I was trying to plug in the wings into the Aero Scout. And I plugged it in backwards because I didn't know what I was doing. And they weren't labeled. So then I had issues with that. So anyway, we're going to continue with that in the video tomorrow because I'm falling asleep with all this technology garbage. All this technology garbage that the algorithm won't listen to or look at. It's just so boring. No kidding. It is so boring. Falling asleep. It's early Monday morning. Does anybody want to be awake early Monday mornings talking about technology? No. Those poor science and technology teachers at school. I don't know how they do it. Is it the love for the children? That they want to go in there and educate the minds of children? Or is it the money? Because, like they're making the big bucks. Like on Wall Street. I mean, what is the motivation to get up in the cold and the wet and to go to school to teach kids stuff? Gosh, maybe they should be paid a little bit more. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. If I'm falling asleep and I only read a couple of pages, those people have to last through a whole day of school. Dang. Anyway, we began to jump into secret origins of the Chung. Secret origin of the Wing Chun here. If you guys haven't bought yourself this cool book, you should just get it off of Amazon. I think it may be sold out, so try your best to get it. Yeah, it really flies off the shelves. I heard the Avada has been used these days to carry this to your destination as well. It's amazing. So Amazon has started attaching baskets to the Avatar, and the Avatar has been delivering these packages to your doorsteps. It's pretty cool. Anyway, Grandmaster Tom Wong is the amazing. It's all about technology. It's all that technology, man. It really puts the screws to me. I'm not allowed to turn on the heater, and I'm dying here. I'm gonna get frostbite. It's all your fault. It's all your fault, Tim. If I get frostbite today, it's all your fault because your phones can't. What do you call that when you can't say the sexist terms? You can't say the sexist terms on YouTube anymore because it's dangerous. It's a lightweight. There we go. It's a lightweight. Your device is a lightweight, and I can't turn the heating on in the car, so I'm suffering here. It's all your fault, Tim. You gotta chef better next time. Anyway, so a snake goes around a rock instead of trying to penetrate it. Did I go too far? God, can't stay awake. In the Ome Wing Chun style, one snaps and strikes a cobra at a distance range, but attacks like a python that constrains and wraps around the prey at close range. So snake constantly changes its path to avoid strong obstacles, but strikes at the opponent's pressure points. Okay, so what it's talking about is this picture right here. So it's a different style than you would expect a big bull to have, right? So in contrast, it says the Shaolin style of Kung Fu trains students with a much simpler method of having students repeatedly drill through multiple series. Oh God, I can't do it today. I just can't do it today. Of preset motions. Many people are impressed with these poses and the dynamic tension of muscles that display power and aggression. The style uses a simple-minded approach to overpower an opponent like a tiger. So it focuses on creating a strong triangular static body structure through weight training and impact resistance training that can quickly condition a fighter for combat. All martial arts around the world seem to fall into these two different sets of principles and direct students how to train and fight according to these principles. Let's see if I can do something about the heating. I swear, my feet are so cold, and I'm starting to lose it, guys. I'm starting to lose it. It is cold, so cold for me. So what we're gonna try to do is see for a second. This is a Toyota. No, don't end the live. I just want to press the other button. Can't think straight. So the Toyota has systems here. And what I want to put in is legs. There we go, legs. So no heat is going to come up from the top. And I'm hoping that will allow the machine of death here to continue to run. So Tim Cook's machine of death here hopefully will continue to run and allow me to get my feet will allow me to stop frostbite from getting to my feet and losing my feet. And again, as I said before, when the weather, when the weather gets too cold for me, I lose it. I can't even think straight. My brain shuts down to a next level degree. So I'm like in hibernation. And that's what happens with lizard people. Oh, God. Oh, my feet. And I fall asleep. So it wasn't the technology that was... Oh, man. That's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable. All right, I'm going to try just a little bit more. If I can't, we will have to end the live here today, guys. I'm sorry. Adverse conditions. Adverse conditions for lizard people. Dang. I could do a live from home. I could go home and do a live from the warmth of the home. But it's out here in the wild. Goodness gracious, goodness gracious. All right, so all martial arts around the world seem to fall into these two different sets of principles and direct students how to train and fight according to these principles. A bull will try to overcome obstacles with power. There's the bull. There's my favorite bull there. It's well known for its craps. It's well known for the stock market being bullish as opposed to bearish. Anyway, bulls. Wow, it's so cold that my nose is starting to snoot out. My nose is starting to snoot out. Anyway, many practitioners find that their improvement comes to a plateau at a certain point. That's true. That's true. I was talking about that today with Real Flight Evolution and Real Flight 95.S. I have sort of reached a plateau where I can't get any better at some of the games. At some of the exercises. And so I've kind of plateaued. So that's going to get a little bit boring as we go along. But I can also show you guys more of the other cool things that happen within Real Flight, which are really exciting. So here you go. Back to this book here. As a result, they try many other different disciplines and styles, but oftentimes become even more confused because of the many similarities and differences between martial arts. So, most martial arts systems and teachers will teach you the same stuff. They will go by the same principles. However, the styles will actually differ a lot, and hard style martial arts and internal style martial arts will be very different. Although most of the time they will try to say the similar things, such as they want you to be more like the snake rather than the bull, in order for you to conquer your opponent or beat your opponent. However, even though some things look the same on the surface, the execution and application of similar looking techniques might be very different, and as a result, very different outcomes. So you got different outcomes based on the technique that you use. Similarly, in Wing Chun, sound very different. Similarly, Wing Chun and Wing Chun sound very similar. However, one is named after a lady and the other named after a village. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that means, or I'm going to show you what it is written like over there, so you guys can figure that out for yourselves. I hope that it's in focus on the Hocus Pocus. It says a punch is just a punch, but one calls for constant tension while the other emphasizes relaxation. You would rather train one, a kung fu style that emphasizes following the 9-path approach, or 2, 9 different styles that each cover an angle of present techniques. In addition, some people believe that Wing Chun looks like Western boxing. After all, you can only throw a straight jab in so many ways, even between Yankai-san, Essen, and Wei Chi. I don't know. There's a bunch of abbreviations that I can't pronounce, so I'm just going to show you what the abbreviations are. And Western boxing, there are some similarities between the way that Yankai-san, Wing Chun practitioners snap out their lead hand and the way the boxers throw out a jab at first glance. So differences between punches and stuff. So you will have the good old karate punch that comes all the way back from behind your hip, and then it turns and it tenses as it turns, and then it hits its target at full tensation or intensity, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So it starts strong, and it continues to be strong and strong and strong, and it comes out and hits. But that's only one technique, right? That's only one technique. Other people might do it differently. They might tense in the beginning, and then they might release the tension, and then they might continue on, and then they might only tense once again when they hit. Or they might have the famous jab, which is completely loose. It's loose from the get-go, and then it swings, and it only tenses a little bit when you hit the target, and then fully tenses at the target spot. Or you might have other techniques where you start completely loose and you tense only for a second when you hit the target, and then it's loose again. So there's so many different variations of a punch. And so that's why when you say somebody's like, oh, look, boxing and Yun-Kai-Sun techniques look the same, but there is very, very different nuances in there, where of course Yun-Kai-Sun's Wing Chun is going to be different from what you see in the YouTube world. I mean, some YouTube channels will show one kind of technique, another YouTube channel is something else. One institute, one gym will do one thing, and one gym will do another thing. So there's so many different ways of doing stuff that, you know, one single punch is just not, it's not like a cookie cutter thing, if you will. Anyway, hopefully how does the iPhone feel? It feels a little hot, but not as hot as before, because before the heating was hitting it directly. I'm putting it down on the lowest setting so that it doesn't crap out, because I want to keep my extremities. Gosh. However, in reality, there are immense differences between the two martial arts. Our Wing Chun emphasizes vertical punches, keeping our elbows close to the body, launching non-telegraphic attacks, following up with wrist attacks, energy tensing, and elbow strikes on grappling throws. Most people judge only by what they see on the surface and with two-dimensional graphics. Furthermore, people tend to make judgments based on their own experience. So if you've never experienced this kind of martial arts, you won't be able to understand what it's all about. You'll notice that it is more like Master Tong Wong gets you to get into this thing called pigeon stance, where your knees touch together, but your legs are twisted, creating a triangular pattern underneath yourself. So the knees will be the hook or the hinge point, and then you will have, oh gosh, it's hard to show you guys. I don't really have anything. Maybe I do. We could use this dragon, but it's in the incorrect pose. So what you'll have here is a triangular system whereby the knees are touching together. So it will create a triangle. Imagine the knees are bent in there, so the ankles will come out from the side. You will have a triangle going from the middle here to the heel So that's the idea there. It's going to be the pigeon step. So it allows you to be low to the ground. You will keep your elbows inward. So usually when you do boxing, you will relax your shoulders and you will swing. You might be able still to do a jab quite centrally there. But in Wing Chun, you tend to do all of your punches, and they tend to swing towards the middle first and continue on straight. Then they will come down, and then they will swing out just gently and touch the side of your chest, the side of your torso. So they will come in and out in a swooping fashion. They will come swinging in like this. A jab usually will come out. Oh, it could be like this in boxing. It'll just come in like that in boxing. But here you're going to have more of a swooping towards the middle coming out like that. It's hard to show on camera. I'm not zoomed out enough for you guys to be able to see. We may do an episode where I'll show you more about what it's talking about in the Sulim Tao and stuff. But anyway, it is very, very different. It looks almost like a mechanical system when you do your Chung Choi. If you're doing your Chung Choi coming out forward, it looks very mechanical in a way. So in a way it is very fluid. In another way it is very mechanical, which is very, very strange. It is almost like Wing Chun is robotic in a way, but it's so fluid at the same time. So it's hard. Maybe only a cyborg would be able to do, or a very complex hydraulic system would be able to pull off something like that. Anyway, part 2, a glimpse in the techniques of Aomei Wing Chun arrow step punch. So the arrow step is another important feature of the Kung Fu of Wing Chun, Yankai Sun Wing Chun, that Grandmaster Tom Wong teaches in class. And you may be doing it for like, 3 or 4 years and still not get exactly how it works. It is really daunting. So many different bits and pieces have to work. It is almost, well, I would say on par to as difficult as doing pop. Like it's a Pop and John or something. Anyway, pop artists, when they do that, when you do this kind of step to get the power from one point of the body all the way to the fist, in order for it to actually be effective and to be a correct punch and to get the full force out of it, it is a very complex thing. So anyway, it says, my teacher Sifu Samnang, his teacher Yang Kai-san, and earlier masters of our lineage never wrote books regarding the history of Wing Chun. They did not want to share their knowledge with their general public or those who might not be of good moral character. They also did not want to mislead anyone because books and videos can only provide a rough idea of our training. These insentient objects can never demonstrate the proper energy and manipulation of the constant interchange between reaction and action. Theory and training method together determines how well and far a martial artist performs and progresses, creates new ideas. A good theory must be proven in reality, and an effective training method is grounded in good theory. A theory probably needs to be revised if the results are inconsistent. For example, if a theory instructs a student to punch a certain way to increase his punching speed, every student should have similar results, or at least have their own improvements. Otherwise, there is something not quite right. Similarly, when a whole class of students follows the same theory, but most of the class performs poorly, except for 1 or 2 students, it suggests that there is something missing from the theory. A theory could or should not be limited to one specific person, physics, experience, or particular style. Instead, anyone following the same regimen should see improvement according to effort that they have put into the training, regardless of their background. So most of our students who master the first 3 initial attacks from the 12 San 6 seem to do well in the national sparring competition and private sparring with their experienced friends even in their first year of practicing Omei Wing Chun. They fought against champions that had trained more than a decade in half dozen popular styles. Their recognitions were well received. The pictures below show some of the students entering the first national full sparring competition and capturing 3 gold, 3 silvers, and 2 bronze medals. Left pick after 1 year training, Jan. Middle captures a gold medal. Right pick, James, wearing gray shirt, also captures a gold medal. I'm going to show you guys some of these awesome pictures and the words because, as you may know, if you follow this channel, you know that I don't always say the words correctly. Might just skip lines, misinterpret things, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to give you a chance to do that yourselves. Rodney wearing gray captures gold medal in sparring. Right pick, Rodney left capture a silver medal in sticky hands. Chris captures a gold medal in free sparring. So I talk about Rodney a lot is because he helps Grandmaster Tom Wong teach his style of Kung Fu. So you might be working with Grandmaster Tom Wong, or you may be working with Rodney or other of his amazing students. So you'll just have to see depending on which class you go to. One of the important things that I want to talk about before we jump into more of this cool book is that what was mentioned earlier, which was about theory of training, theory of teaching. The reason why books are great, but they're also not so great is, as I said before, in many different systems, is that there are people and the people are different in the way that they learn things. Some people are more visual. Some people are more theoretical. Some people need to read words on a piece of paper in order to teach. And part of the reasons why I was so effective back in the day when I was teaching in class, but I did was that the students at all, they have the visual down, they have the theoretical. The biggest issue that I ever had in class was the smart kids. It was just harder based on kids, but those smart kids, they would just get it and then they'd get bored and they need something else to do.